What's up, advocates? Welcome back to Equity with your host, me, Reginald A. Howard. Think I might go with that as the intro. I'm still trying to figure this thing out. You know, we've rebranded. We're going deeper into a few subjects. Starting to do some more with the platform. So today you get a solo episode, no guests, just me and you, intimate conversation. Well, hopefully it's an intimate conversation. I'm gonna do my best to provide some value. And again, we're still updating the platform, so there may be some changes that you notice. And today will probably be different than any previous episode that you have listened to or viewed if you're watching on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe everywhere you're listening, by the way. Um, but let's just dive right into the episode. And I know the last solo episode I talked about changing and you know switching my how do you say career path, for lack of better decision better words. And one of the things that helped me get through or is helping me get through this process is I'm reading a book called The Pivot. Um The Pivot, you see my bookmarker if you're watching, it's me and my wife when we were a lot younger, a lot skinnier, but it's a pivot and it's by Jenny Blake, and it's the pivot, the subtitle is The Only Move That Matters Is Your Next. Looking to make a career change, The Pivot is a book you will turn to again and again, which I believe wholeheartedly. It has definitely entered one of my favorite books of all time. And I know a lot of the things that we're going to pull out of this book, um, it comes from uh the career sector or the career field, but I look at it as a life change and just anybody looking to make changes in your life. And again, this platform is a mental health based platform, but we're getting a lot into personal development as well. I know a lot. I have a heavily incarcerated population that listen to this, so shout out to y'all. I want to provide as much value for personal growth and self help and development. So when you look on the back of the pivot, and we'll get into some more things that I pulled out of it. And I'm still currently reading, I'm almost done. Um, they say it's time to start thinking about your next move. In the new world of work, and I want to put slash life, it's only one move, it's the only move that matters. So, what's next is a question we all have to ask and answer more frequently in an economy where jobs and roles change quickly, and smart, motivated people find themselves hitting natural professional plateaus. I will say personal as well. But how do you evaluate options and move forward without getting stuck? Jenny Blake's solution is about small steps, not big leaps, and the answer is already right under your feet. Pivoting is the crucial skill you need to stay agile, whether or not you're actively looking for a new position. When you pivot, you double down on your existing strengths and interests to shift in a new related direction instead of looking so far outside of yourself for answers that you skip over your hard-won expertise and experience. It empowers you to navigate changes with flexibility and strength now and throughout your entire career. And I'm gonna add life into there. No matter your current position, one thing is clear: your career, and I'm going to add in life success and satisfaction, depends on your ability to determine your next best move. If change is the only constant, let's get better at it. And so this book has been really inspiring. Again, I've been sharing my journey with you all. And I think, again, with the platform, I do a great job of sharing my journey while we get the experts on. And again, I'm starting to become an expert myself in the area. But I want to share the things I'm learning with you all as I'm learning them, because I know they can help. So going right into the book and some of the things that pulls out of it, I'm going to go on a website that is called 4minutebooks.com. Shout out to you all. Just to kind of sum up the book in its totality, and then you can kind of see where others have taken things out. And let me put my phone on silent so no one can disturb us while we're in this space recording this before the kids get home. And so I'm going to share the screen. And What shout out to again pivot summary for the 4minutebooks.com. The one sentence summary. Pivot will give you the confidence you need to change careers by showing you how to prepare by examining your strengths, working with the right people, testing ideas, and creating opportunities. And I kind of want to stop right there because um as I was shifting throughout my journey or these past few months, one of the things I learned was that I didn't have to shift too far from where I was, you know. And so, for example, this podcast, for example, it was the Black Mental Health Podcast, and I thought I had to get out of Black mental health completely. And again, if you want to know why, you can go to the previous episode. Um, and I shared about how I just felt I got boxed into a one demographic, and I don't mind it because this is always going to be mental health based. This is where my core at. I live this. I'm studying this. Like this is where I'm at, but I wanted to be able to, you know, go deeper. That's why we're talking about equity and getting equitable solutions. And I thought I had to get rid of mental health completely, but in actuality, I've gained the expertise over the years through podcasting, speaking, coaching, consulting, all these different things. I didn't have to switch so much, but or as much as I thought I had to switch. There was just a knowledge base that I had to pull from that I had already gained. Hence why I landed at the Psychoanalytic Center of Philadelphia. Um, it was off a little bit. And actually not off. It actually went deeper into what my expertise and some of the things that landed me the position was what I've gained over time and experience through various organizations. So it really does behoove you to look back on your current expertises that you probably didn't realize was a skill set. Like for example, I became a program coordinator from for Black Men Hill, and that program coordination translated right into education program coordination and applying those skills. Um I'm a board member for a few boards here in Philadelphia, and that translated into helping to speak to board members for the current position that I'm in. And actually, now that I speak of it, I'm wearing this jacket for a reason. If those who can't see, it's a logoed sweatshirt, warm up jacket, and I hopefully I'll get to have some good news by the end of May that I'll be able to share with you all. But I don't want to spoil it until the ink is dry, but on that end, like the board has played a pivotal role in me being able to have conversation with boards and things of that nature. So it really does help you create opportunities when you get to look back on your experiences. So let's go back into the book. So this person from the 4 minute or this whoever wrote this 4 minute article said their favorite quote from the book was, "You can learn to enjoy calculated risk and uncertainty in exchange for adventure, flexibility, freedom, and opportunity." And again, stopping to share, I think one of the things that I've learned we're making a risk. Like I'm taking a chance right now with this podcast. I'm taking a chance. I'm taking the opportunity that you all will ride with me as I, you know, phase into the next part of my career. But personally as well, I'm taking a chance because I'm betting on me. I'm betting on my expertise. I'm betting on the things that I've learned from. It's been plenty of times, and this is where I get my confidence from. There has been plenty of time where friends and families thought when I got a job or opportunity or a position or a gig that, hey, you need to stick with that one thing, like that this job has great benefits. This opportunity is going to put you in this right position. And for me, it's always about going with my gut. It's always going with how I feel in that moment. And thus far, it has proven to land me on my feet. One of the things where my wife, and I think she's a little bit more trusting now, but before she used to get frantic when it came to like, I don't know where we're going to get this money from, or I don't know how we're going to be able to do this or pull this off. But I tell her time and time and again that God, the universe, whoever, whatever you believe in, something bigger than you has shown that we always land on our feet. We find a way to get through it. And so going back to the pivot, I've learned that with the expertise, you'll find yourself in positions where you can learn to enjoy calculated risk and uncertainty and you get in that you get the freedom and flexibility of what opportunity may be coming your way. So reading some more from the book, it said a couple of years ago, and I'm guessing this may be from the person that wrote the article. A couple of years ago, I asked my dad if he thought it was too late for me to change my career. I'd be a civil. I'd been a civil engineer for a few years, wasn't loving it, and was beginning to look into other fields. People change their careers all the time, was his response to my question. It filled me with hope to learn that he believed in it, this was something I could do. I also lit up inside thinking about all the opportunities that were ahead of me. I could not have anticipated how much work it would take or how much happier I would become after shifting into something new, more tuned to my strengths and passions. Again, I told y'all that what I've been experienced recently has been an amazing shift, but it's also been a hard one. Um, and that's that's one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to share this. And I got this book from a fellowship program that I was in, that I was able to get from the organization, a few organizations I was a from, and I was able to take some free knowledge from there. And I didn't think I would need this book as soon as I took it. I just love getting, they gave out free books. I'm like, all right, I don't know when I'm gonna need these, but I always try to keep books around that speak to me. Like, I don't know what book I'm going to read after this, and I'm almost finished. It's wherever I'm at in that space at that time. But I digress. You definitely have to look at your life and examine it. And I think I said it last time that I always do that every August and try to figure out what shift I'm at in the moment. So going back to the article, it says that was almost 2 years ago. Today, I'm an entrepreneur who writes and does civil engineering on the side. I couldn't be more satisfied with my career and the direction it's heading. This is really why somebody that wrote the book about the book. This is why I really appreciate Jenny Blake's book, The Pivot. The only move that matters is your next one. If you're feeling dissatisfied with your career, your position, or anything else about work, this book is going to be a game changer for you. It has been for me. These are the best lessons the book teaches. You'll need to analyze your financial situation and know your strengths if you want to navigate your career pivot successfully. So I want to stop right there as well, and go in a little deeper about that, because there was at one point there was a hustle culture that I think a lot of people had to navigate a few years ago, from the likes of like a Gary V or the Grant Cardones or the just entrepreneur out there's like, if you don't like your job, quit it. And I feel like it did more harm to a lot of impressionable young kids under 25, between 18 and 25, and then myself included, because is like, all right, I don't want to work a job. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And the sad part about that is, some people can have that opportunity. Let me say that again. Some people are afforded the opportunity to wake up, not be happy at their job, and quit. Not everyone has that opportunity. And I love those guys to death, or to life, Gary V, Grant Cardone, and everybody else, because they're giving and providing valuable information, but they don't know everyone's circumstances to just give that blanketed information out there. Especially, I'm speaking for myself as a young Black man. That type of information was not valuable into my impressionable, excuse me, mind at the time. And I want to implore everybody that is thinking about switching and changing positions. I had a newborn baby at the time. I had she's my wife now, but a girlfriend that we were deep with each other at the time, and I always find a way to make ends meet, but it wasn't something that you could rely on. And that was because I was chasing what I thought was my dream, and I still am chasing my dream. But as I learned, and even in the book, it talks about that you can do it more strategically if you put the right pieces into place. So I just wanted to stop there and make sure I explain that, because I know I got a lot of people that are listening, and they may take the heed to that. But that hustle culture, especially online, there's some backing that people don't see, and I think it behooves a lot of people to really check the individuals that they're evaluating and getting that information from. because it ain't always what it seems, and you have to get it. And I'll explain. I got an example that I want to share. But let me get a drink of water real quick. So I remember joining like a network marketing company, and I reached out to a few family and friends, and shout out all the network marketers. It's not uh a degrading topic for you all. I think network marketing is one of the easiest way to start to learn your business lessons and start building up a network and learn them soft skills and hard skills that you need to be an entrepreneur. So shout out to all the network marketers out there. But I remember when I first started my network marketing journey and I signed up for a business, and I reached out to one of my old college roommates or friends, and I was asking him about like, hey, I want to interest you in an opportunity, da da da. And he was like, nah, man, I'm good. And we were close. We were like this. And he was like, nah, man, I'm good. And I'm like, why would he say it? And then he was like, because one of these things always come around every now and again. This just another new one, and it'll be gone before you know it. But at that time, I'm 20, 21, and I was crushed about that. And it hurt me. And I'll say the name. It was Wake Up Now. Wake Up Now. I don't even know what happened to Wake Up Now, but just learning about network marketing and how the flow of these different things. And um I was looking at the guy that brought me in, and I didn't realize, and I learned it afterwards, that the reason why he was so successful is he had a network base to tap into. He had a he was a party promoter, so he was tapped into the city. He was tapped into what was going on in the environment. So he had a lot of people he could pull from. Where if I'm only tapping into family and friends, that ain't enough. And I'm not out there enough to, just pull on random people, which in sales they teach you how to cold call. But again, that's why I say shout out to networking, because network marketing, because it teach you those skills that you need to sales. But I didn't know that's what made him successful in it, and I thought I could attain it. So I say all that to say, when you are making those changes, you really do got to be careful about how you make those changes, because it might not be as fruitful as you think it's going to be. And some people, I say, and this is not blanketed advice for everybody, because some people will be successful at network marketing. They may have the base to tap into. They may know how to cold call and sell, and they may also know how to do a bunch of different things that you will never be able to do. And so you just have to really figure out what is going to work for you, and if you have the capabilities to make that thing be in your favor. So um I'm going to go to the other questions. And so the third of the best lesson that the person feels like this book teaches, or the second, be proactive about creating opportunities. Don't wait for them to come to you. That's a big fact. I told y'all that I reached out to everybody. I tried different strategies, and I went out there and hustled. I was emailing, texting, calling, filling out opportunities on job boards, just doing everything that I needed to do it that I knew how to do, and trying and being vulnerable with people, and opportunities were coming left and right in different wavelengths. And I again, this is not just for career advice. I think this is just life advice in general. Like, whenever you feel like you in a stuck place, or if you want to transition, you have to utilize all the opportunities that's available to you in every capacity. So I definitely believe in that. And then the last one, it's a manage the risk by testing out your potential new career with small experiments. That one I'm still working on. That's one of the final things is you go through this process throughout the book, and I should have like an affiliate link for the book on Amazon, but go ahead and get it if you can. Um, the process of looking in your past, gaining the insight from your past experiences and pulling out expertise and having like that list available to you, and then the book shows you how to run small experiments off those expertise to see if they will be fruitful and beneficial for you. And so I'm still currently working through that. As I progress through the book, we may revisit it, and I'll let you know how it goes. But I definitely do think it's something that will be beneficial during the long call, when we talk about uh going with your strengths and seeing what works for you. And so One of the first lessons was make yourself aware of your financial situation and your strengths to prepare for your next career pivot. I want to say life pivot. The person was in the story that wrote this article said, I remember clearly the fear and panic I had as I finally admitted that I wasn't happy with civil and engineering and needed to change. I explained a similar process to you all how what I just went through. You might be having the same might you might be having some of these emotions as you realize it's time to shift things up. Take a deep breath, remind yourself that this is normal, and start preparing by examining your strengths and your finances. Investigate what you're good at from past evaluations, jobs, and experiences. You'll quickly realize that you're not starting over, but that your expertise is a solid foundation to build on. I actually put out a tweet during that experience that I'm sharing. Let me see if I can pull it up because I think it's so true that once you look back, you start to remember what you did and how you did it. And if you're an early person and you're just getting down to the career path, I understand that. But even as a kid, there were certain things that you've done that not everyone's done. For example, I didn't realize that not every kid was going door to door shoveling snow in the wintertime. Like I was shoveling snow, going out there and getting, I'm like, that didn't every kid do that? I was burning CDs. I know all our digital babies don't know about the burn CDs, the lime wires, and all that. But in middle school, I was burning CDs to sell at school, and handing them out to classmates and selling to classmates with all the hottest songs out there. And so you really do got to look into your past, whether you have professional experience or just in personal experience in general. You have to look into your past and see, all right, what am I good at? What do people love about me? And I told you all that I did like some soul searching um within my network and was like, all right, let me ask them what they say, what would they say they would pay me for? Um and how well is that? So let me see. Oh, here go the tweet. I just found the tweet. So those who are listening, this is November 30th. Again, y'all heard this last solo episode. And this is right on par with that the timeline that I gave you on November 30th. I tweeted out, just redid my bio to remind myself who I was. Sometimes you forget. You forget who you are, what you did, how you created yourself, all those different things. So you gotta go dig in the crate. Shout out to my uncle D Reed. You gotta dig in the crates and really get into you and who you are. And because nobody else can be you. Even the way I'm changing this podcast up and the things that I'm about to utilize and the skill sets that I have, a lot of people won't be able to do it because it's not their skills and their strengths. There are certain set of skill sets and strengths that you have that make you different than other people, and you have to utilize them. Again, when we talk about equity, you have a level of resources that other people that don't got, and you have to tap into them and be able to make a a, a, a professional and personal decision that benefits you. All right, so let me go back to the article. Um as did I realize as I did this, I realized I was excellent at writing. So they went back on their career. I'd always received good grades in writing classes, loved doing it, and could type and could type exceptionally fast. I also discovered that I had almost 4 years of teaching experience that I could build on. Next, you'll look at your finances to make sure you can still make ends meet throughout the process. Make a plan to cover your basic costs forever you long you think your pivot will take. You might save some money or did what I did and start a company, which I'll explain in the next lesson. Going on to that, I'll go to and make sure y'all follow me on Twitter, all my socials and things of that nature. Um, how I developed this platform is I'll let the video explain, but I had to go deep into my path and deep into my experience to see, all right, what's the if I'm going to transition, how can that transition look? And what will make my transition different than anybody else? So I'm going to share the screen, but I'm also going to pull this up for people so that way you can all go back. So before I did this podcast, I started dropping clips of the episodes and what it and really started going into my past and gaining the knowledge together. So I'm going to pull this clip up and let it play, and then we'll go into a little bit deeper about it, about that clip. Give me a second. Okay. From since I can remember, I've been fascinated how things were built. This passion led me to Shippensburg University, where I studied human communication and fell in love with understanding people and how they think. I didn't know it, but it was the early stages of podcasting. Now, I want to reintroduce, reignite, and reiterate my passion for how things and people are built. Ride with me on this journey of discovery as I use the new version of my platform to help more people. Appreciate. Yeah, so that was me rebranding me, like, all right, what's a common theme? What is something that I've done all this time? Like, I'm gonna say it again. There's a lot of, and this is no shade to anybody. There's a lot of pandemic podcasts where people were in the house, people were um or bored, or they were trying to look for other things to do. I will have been doing this, as you can see, that college video, or if for those who are watching, and I know some people just heard, but if you're watching, that little quote of me saying, like, I was talking to roommates in person, or college classmates in person. That was 2009. So I've been podcasting way before podcasting was a thing. It would have been maybe radio host, broadcasting, whatever the case may be, but I would have been doing this. I chose to do it in the mental health capacity because, again, that's me aligning something that I've already been doing, and really having these type of conversations. But I would have been doing this in some form of capacity. I've been doing this version of it since 2017. So again, going back and diving in on you is so pivotal, because there are things that are continue to pop up in your life that won't pop up in others, and themes. So lesson 2: don't wait for opportunities, and actively seek them, or get out there and create them. Shout out to Charlamagne the guy. One of his book was, is it Black Privilege? Opportunity comes to those who create it. I think that's what that book was called. But lesson 2: habit one of the 7 habits of highly successful people, I also recommend that, is to be proactive. This means you're always taking personal responsibility for your situation and seeking to improve it, instead of blaming others or remaining idle. If you want your career transition to be successful, you're going to need this habit throughout the whole process. The good news is, if you've compiled the list of your strength, you'll have some great starting places. My career shift started when I was at my old job, as I began looking for new ways I could create opportunities, starting my examining my strengths. So I want to stop right there, because I was talking to a friend recently, and they were explaining to me how they wanted to make a career transition, but the way that their life were set up, that they feel like they couldn't. And so I said they have to go back. And I was currently in the process, and it still is. You have to go and look at your strengths, and go back and see what you do better than anybody else. And that's scary, man. That's scary for a lot of people, and they expressed that to me, and I explained to them there are opportunities waiting out there for them that I will never get, because I'm not them. They may see certain things that I won't see, and they'll see it as an opportunity, and I won't see it as an opportunity, because they know certain things from the background and strengths. And I think everybody has that in them. Everybody has a version of expertise that they can see and make money, make opportunity, build relationships, whatever outcome that they're looking to achieve, they will be able to get it because they can see something in it that somebody else can't see. So I hope that is a helpful for a lot of people, because I try to express that to them. Going back to the article, it says, looking at the numbers, I realized that I can make the same amount of money and cut my workday by over 75% if I did what I was doing at my day job on my own. So that's what I did, and it's helped pay the bills while I've worked on getting my writing career off the ground. I also never stopped getting to know my talents better. Let me read that again. I've also never stopped getting to know my talents better. I've always looked for opportunities to utilize them to create new opportunities. Man. I'm going to read that one more time. I've also never stopped getting to know my talents better. That is so key, and I swear to you all, man. And again, with me being in this position right now, it or coming out on the other end of it, it has been pivotal for me to learn more and more what I'm good at, and even for the fact that I'm saying that I learned I learned what my skills were. You don't even realize. Oh, I learned what my skills were, but I've used them to go and do these things on my own. That's in the consulting process that I'm in now. I've been, and mind you, I think I have the name of my consulting practice. I know the skill sets that I've done for organizations. I am currently gathering those up right now. And mind you, it won't be a drastic shift today, but it definitely will be a drastic shift. It will be one that comes over time because I think as you grow, you start to the part of growth is there are a bunch of fruits that get that's a gem. As you grow, there are a bunch of fruits that get left on the ground because people feel like they aren't good. I know one company, they started a whole organization off of it, and I wish I looked this up. It was it was on Shark Tank. Shout out to Shark Tank. Ugly Fruit Company, where organizations they would throw those fruits out because they didn't look the prettiest. But they still had all the nutritional value. They still had so I don't know if this was it on Shark Tank, but it says Misfits Market, 8 reasons to buy your grocery from the Misfits Market. Ready to start saving, da 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 da. Um, all right, so basically these are the fruits that no one wanted, and because they didn't look like the traditional styles of fruits. And so going back to the reason why I brought this up, there are fruits on your ground that are misfits, but they are still hold the nutritional value that you need from them. And so there's a lot of things I'm leaving on the ground that I'm starting to pick up and starting to gather and starting to apply to my life that I didn't realize had so much nutritional value, financial value, personal value, all these different things. Even this conversation that I'm having currently, I always wanted to have just these personal development conversations, professional. That's all I do all day. Watch interviews, gain insight. Um, this is my wheelhouse. And so when I talk mental health, there's a therapeutic component where you get professional development, but there's a major personal development portion. Excuse me, that comes from professional development. I mean, mental health. That I think that's a self help version where again, I'm never going to take away the professionals out there who give you therapeutic support, the psychoanalysts that give you or the psychotherapists that give you medication to handle you, but there's a portion of yourself that you're in control, that you can dive into, that you can really start to go into yourself to discover who you are. And so I implore people to take that journey and go that route because it's very valuable. All right, so where are we at? Oh, all right. So going back to the article, it said this led me to discover medium.com and I began writing over there. 200 articles later, I had opportunities coming to me left and right, and not long after became the managing editor here at 4 Minute Books. Man, I wish I had a little clapper. Don't worry, I'm gonna get it, man. That is a beautiful story. A shout out to Medium. I'm going to get back to Medium because I feel like there's a writing portion of my career that I want to get back to, especially I feel like I was supposed to have like 2, 3 books by now, but I digress. Lesson 3. Using small experiments to test out your potential new career so that you can manage risk. After getting to know your strengths, your finances, and opportunities, you may already have found your new career panning out nicely. You won't want to miss this last step, however, because, yeah, you won't want to miss this last step, however, because it's a vital component to make sure your efforts are successful. Again, I told you all that I'm currently in this stage right now, so I'm learning with you all. You want to pilot your new line of work. To do this, actually, I'm in it now with this book, this podcast, and even calling the podcast, this show, this platform, is a pilot right now. You all may tell me like, "Hey, yeah, man, you need to go back to the Black Mental Health podcast." Like, I missed that. Yo, I don't want to hear all this personal development guru, whatever story. Like, I want to hear these therapeutic components, and this is fine. What people come to you for is what they come to you for, and you give them what they come to you for. But this is me piloting as we speak. To do this, you will set up small experiments so you can gradually work your way through the change. This way, you can manage the risk by still making a living and see how much you like your new field. So, my last episode, I think it was 118. That was more of a educational component. I went through the research, was able to pull up articles, references, and you know, institutions that provide these information. I don't know if everybody's going to love the educational component. That's why I say this is a journey of discovery. Everybody may not love that. They may love more of the inspirational, the inspirational entertainment portion where we, go and critique some of the entertainment value out of it. Some people may love me talking more about my personal experiences and applying it that way. Some people may want to just hear me interview guests. Which I can tell y'all was another reason why I pivoted, is because tracking down, getting people scheduled, all of those different things have been a very hard task over these past few years. So I figured if I can just find my way to still be valuable, so you all still listen, I can minimize as much guests coming on, because it's hard to be a guest based platform. So going back to the article, start by thinking of the smallest possible version of your career path you want to go down. Seek opportunities to test that out or design those experiments yourself. You might create a website, start a side hustle, or even try a long-term job shadow. When I began the change to become a full-time writer, I created a master plan for how and when I would make certain changes. A large part of that was starting my writing side hustle while I was still working full-time as a civil engineer. At the same time, I was constantly working on my plan to quit and start my own company, but I had to wait for the right moment. Without saying it, I'm right there. Then, when my company let me go unexpectedly, I was in the perfect position to begin transitioning into writing while starting my own engineering company. That word transition has been a key word. Although the road was bumpy, I'm happy to say that piloting my new career was the safety net that caught me when I lost my engineering job. So that's it. Thank you for whoever wrote that article. I know you said Medium is your spot for 4-minute books. I wish they had your name somewhere, because I know how important it is to give people their credit. But I appreciate you for writing this and giving this summary. Oh, Luke Rowley. Shout out to you, Luke. I know a lot of people probably got some great insights. So for me, that's what's been going on with this book, and how it's been, helping me with my journey of discovery, and going in here. So I'm going to go to a few quotes that I was able to pull out from the book. And let's see, we went to this prayer. All right, so for my financial gurus out there was a story in the book, and they talked about your career portfolio. And for those who don't know, a portfolio is basically a book of investments that you made with your finances. Um, all right, so I'm going to read a story out the book that I took a picture to screenshot so I can have it for myself. Monica's story illustrates how planting and what you already are good at prepares you for what's next. When she was not getting traction from acting, Monica drew on her knowledge of how to be effective in front of the camera to provide video production and creative direction for entrepreneurs. Then she planted in her academic background in philosophy by connecting people and hosting dinners, building her own creative outlet, even without knowing what it would eventually become. Because she was clear on her values and 1-year vision, she was able to translate her community building strengths into a custom role at a job, an example of putting her unique career portfolio to work. Your career portfolio is the aggregate of your strengths, prior work experience, and existing connections. Just like an investment portfolio can be diversified by asset class, such as stocks and bonds, your career portfolio includes a blend of assets that are already working in your favor. The exercise in this chapter will help you understand your biggest inner resources, what your biggest inner resources are, and how you can apply them to accelerate the next stages of your pivot process. So we basically went through a few of those different things already. Um, one of a few quotes that I wrote down from the book was, hold on one second, I got things popping up that ain't supposed to be popping up. Get this out of here. Um, some thoughts are chew toys for your mind, and one that keep you busy but offers no nutritional value. Look at how that winds up. And so some of those fruits are bad. They are shiny. They are, think about a red apple that we talked about earlier. Some of those fruits on the ground are are bad. They are apple. They do have some nutritional value. You may even enjoy it, but they're spoiled. They're just keeping you busy. They'll keep you in running around in circles. For myself, I actually keep a notepad of different ideas. Even for like writing or planning out this episode, I did it from like a week, and I just wrote down different articles, different topics, different things. And then when it came time to record, some of those didn't make the cut. And even this book right now, I didn't know I was going to speak this long on a book and having a conversation about the book this long. And so again, that's not to say that those things won't be utilized, but they didn't feel right in this moment to utilize. So you have to find which ones feel right for you in a moment to continue on to utilize. Um, don't push the river. Uh, and so everybody heard about going with the flow, riding the wave, all those different analogies, but this one spoke out to me. And um if you think about the flow of a river and how it's constructed, you can imagine how tall of a task that would be to be able to push against the river. So for example, I knew that I couldn't shift this platform so far off what I was already doing. So yes, I may want to speak about personal development. I even may want to speak about finances, which is a part of why people in mental health communities get go off of their stability. But I didn't want to shift too far. So equity was the perfect word or perfect analogy or perfect wave to go against, where I didn't stray too far off of it, but it was so broad, it was broad enough for me to go into different areas if I wanted to. Whereas when I said Black Mental Health Podcast, I felt pigeonholed and I was almost pushing against the river. Whereas I can expand it and open it up. I hope that makes sense. And then one of the last phrases that I pulled out from the conversation or from the book and the reading was being an optimistic realist. And growing up, I have been always been a bit of an optimist. I always have, even again, me wanting to make that shift and change. I always felt like things are going to be for the better. I explained earlier about how my wife is like, "Hey, I don't know what's going on, how this is going to happen." And the reason why we used to bump heads was she was always a realist. Hey, I'm looking at what we got in the bank account right now. Hey, I'm looking at what hood we in right now. I'm looking at the jobs we got now. I'm looking at all the realistic things I can see right now. And I had to learn that um we both had to learn. I don't even say I. She had to be a little bit more optimistic. I had to be a little bit more realistic. I didn't know that there was a phrase called optimistic realist, because that's where we're at right now, where we're both we both are optimistic realists, and we keep the ideas open for ideologies, for serendipity, for things to happen, but we also are realistic in our approaches of how to get things done. More so me, I'm realistic and she has become more optimistic, and it creates the perfect balance. But I think as individuals we need to do more of that in general, because is needed, is valuable, and we all should be a little both optimistic and realistic. But as I shift from the book, I wanted to talk about where should I go next? So again, I told you told you all that I have a bunch of different ways that we can go, but I think one of the things I'll shift to is um my guy Dwayne The Rock Johnson. If those don't know who've been living under a rock, that The Rock is a WWE superstar wrestler. I've been following his journey since the 90s when I got introduced to wrestling, as he's opened up into Hollywood and all those different things. And one of the things they asked him um about was one of his biggest shifts in his life, and I'm going to play what he said because it spoke to me. And shout out to the Pivot Podcast, man. Y'all do great work. I'm inspired. The Pivot Podcast, of course, I had to bring them up because they had to pivot as well, and everyone was in some type of pivot. But I'm gonna put this up right now. Come on, work for me. You know, technology don't want to work when you need it to go and do what you needed to do.
First bout of depression was down there in Miami. You didn't want to go to school. I was ready to leave. I left school. I didn't take any midterms, and I just left. But the interesting thing at that time is I just didn't know what it was. I didn't know what mental health was. I didn't know what depression was. I just knew I didn't want to be there. Wasn't going to any of the team meetings. Wasn't participating in anything. I wasn't working out. And for us, just as athletes, just any kind of sweat, getting it in, will help get that shit out of you. Right. I couldn't do it because of my shoulder. So at that time, that was a tough one for me. And again, I didn't know what it was. Years later, I went through it again when I got a divorce. Didn't know what it was. Yeah. Years later, around 2017 or so, went through a little bit. Really? But knew what it was at that time. And luckily at that time, I had some friends who I could lean on. Say, hey, I'm feeling a little wobbly now. I got a little struggle happening. I'm seeing a little gray and not the blue. But to bring it all back around to your great question is, yes, the saving grace for me has really been my daughters, the three of them, and being a girl dad. Right. That's been the saving grace, because you look at them and you realize, well, I mean, really, this is what it's all about.
So in that clip, The Rock, they asked him one of his because he's The Rock. He don't seem like he goes through too much, and he was transitioning from like realizing, mind you, he's sitting amongst football players and people that made it to the league. The Rock was a big football player out of the University of Miami. And he was so sought on going to the league in the NFL, and then he got hurt, and teams didn't believe in him. And so he never made it to the league, and he wound up going into wrestling and getting shifted into wrestling. And the crazy part of all of that is, or the wild part of that is that it was the shifts of like life and the transitions, the pivots, that caused him to feel like that. And I'm honing on to this point because again, I'm going to try to share my journey as the personal development piece has always been a foundational part of my life. Just showing that celebrities go through it too, or people that you wouldn't expect. Like he has certain things he said all the way up to like 18, 19, or 2018, 19, where he started to feel that, but now he can recognize it. Like even in this moment, I recognize it, or these past few months, I've recognized that I wasn't in an ideal space of where I'm usually at. And so being able to recognize when something is causing you harm and transition is causing you harm is key, because once you recognize it, you can go into a bag of tool belts and things that you can pull from to get to that opportunity. So wanted to give you all that clip because to me, it was really inspirational in how something can not feel like it's going on and you don't realize it's going on, and you have to be at the recognition point of it to see like, all right, I need to handle this and find different ways. That again, that's why that book, The Pivot, was so important to me. And that's why I think a lot of people should read it and recognize it. Read it and recognize it. So another part that I wanted to get into in regards to this, I think I want to speak on where do I want to go? All right. I think this is a good place to go to, because a part of me transitioning was because the version of myself that I was currently at this moment in life was not the version that was being presented to me um from me, for lack of a better term. So, for example, the ideology or the ideas of myself had changed, but the things in my reality hadn't changed. So again, being realistically optimistic realist, where I didn't change. I changed my ideology, but the version in my reality it wasn't the same. So I had to do some drastic, changes. So I'm gonna cue up this clip from Charlamagne God. Shout out to him. I got to meet him at the Mental Wealth Expo, been a partnership with him with his Mental Wealth Alliance. So shout out to him. Why is this not playing? I got the he was on, and I can't play the full clip, or I can't play the version that I've seen because let me see, pull this up. I'm sorry. Trying to do two things at once. All right, don't do that to me. But I hope this is some great content to y'all. I'll say that while I cue this up, because this is how Reg lives his life outside of podcasting world. So hopefully I get to do more of bringing what I'm actually going through and experiencing um on the show more, because or what I'm learning on the show more, because there is an education component, um and there is a I'm trying to think of a proper word to say. There's an educational component of it, and there's a entertainment portion of it where I'm just listening to the entertainers as they go. So I want to share the screen again. I can't share the full video, but I know if you're listening, you're able to get it through them. So let me play this real quick. All right. No, I guess I could pause this while y'all.
Yeah, you got to find people who match your dream. And, right. And when you ask me that, when you ask me like, how many people, you came up with are still with you, it's because, they couldn't see my dream. And nobody's supposed to see your dream, and nobody's supposed to believe in your dream but you. Like, if you meet people who actually believe in your dream and believe in your vision, like, those are the people that you should, keep close. But, as you grow and as you evolve, you got to constantly find people who match your dream. And then, man, the crazy part is there might be people that you met 20 years ago, right? Who at the time they matched the dream you had. Meaning, like, you might have saw yourself in a certain position and they might have been right for that moment, right? But then once you got into that position, you started to see other things. So your dream changes. A lot of times those people that you brought with you to a certain point, they don't see your dreams changing. They don't see the level that you're thinking at now, because they're still, where they were, and they got with you to a certain point. But now they like, man, I can't even believe this dude want to do this. It's almost like when, you say I was running for office, and it was like, okay, I was a councilman, right? And then I became mayor. And they're like, oh man, he was a councilman and he became a mayor. That's cool. But then what happens if I become governor? You're like, whoa, 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 whoa. I didn't know you was gonna be governor. And what happens if I decide to run for president and become president, but this person still sees you as just the councilman? You know what I mean? You can't believe how big this dream got for you. Some of those people, man, you don't even gotta cut them off. They're gonna fade away on their own. They're gonna fall off on their own. It's like if you stop sending blood to one of your limbs, eventually that limb will just fall off. It's the same thing. When people can't match your dream and they don't see where you're going, they'll fade away because, they just don't fit into that equation anymore.
So that's that, again, this journey that I'm on, it spoke to me, and it spoke to how everything that I'm feeling, where it hurts when you lose people that again, I'm thinking about brothers incarcerated. I'm thinking about anybody that's incarcerated. I'm thinking about any entrepreneur with a dream. I'm thinking about marriages that failed. I'm even thinking about I'll share a personal example of and I think I've said it on the podcast a few times, but excuse me, I always had a dream of like reconnecting with my father, and um we would have this big, Father's Day or reunion. Everything that my mom told me, she was just heartbroken, and everything that my sister told me, she just didn't understand what it was like being a man, raising a family, all these different things. Um, and then I got to interact with them, and I had my conversations with them, and we built a rapport, and we actually series in my business. We built a rapport and was able to, rekindle some type of relationship. But then as we started to become more and more, connected, I realized that he wasn't the man that I thought I was. His character started to show himself. It's almost like when you're dating an individual in the first couple months or even the first couple years, if they're good, um they can put on a front of who they are, but um I think that's the Maya Angelou quote where it said, "When people show you who they are, believe them." After a while, they can't hold up that front, or after a while, they show you who they are. And I started to realize with my father, when we reconnected, why my mom felt the way she felt about him. I started to realize why my sister felt the way she felt about him. And as a man, as a father, there was only so much I could tolerate and condone, and even certain situation with connecting with other family members or presenting certain people. I realized, oh, I'm co-signing you. I don't work so hard to build up a name, reputation, um a resume where people trust me as an individual, and you're just riding on the back of that. And so if I'm with you, then I'm kind of co-signing your behavior that you doing. And I think our breaking point was after I got married. I had did some favors for him, and I didn't, and he made some promises that I didn't get back. And the favors I was looking for, or I did, it wasn't like I was looking for something back, but he gave me a word on something that he didn't promise, um, or he didn't fulfill. And I know as a father, there are certain things that my kids hold me accountable for that I have to do. For example, if I tell my youngest son that, gotta stop calling him baby. If I tell my youngest son that, hey, if you do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to get you a car or something that you can enjoy. If he comes back, because sometimes in the moment I'm just doing this so he could just leave me alone or be quiet or whatever the case may be. I ain't gonna lie, I'm hoping if he forgets. But if he remembers and he holds me accountable and he says, "Hey, remember that car you promised me? I need that." I got up and it was like a Saturday morning. I was supposed to chill. He remembered it on a Friday. I promised to him on a Friday or something like that, picking him up for schools so he can settle down. I told him that night was like, all right, well, the store is closed, but when it's daytime, we can go get in the morning. That next morning, he forgot for a little bit, but he held me accountable and reminded me, like, in the afternoon, like, hey, remember you said we were going to the store? And I sure enough got my clothes on. Yeah, I don't care if it was a rainy day or whatever, and I went out and bought him that because I know how that feel. Where I shared earlier in the beginning of this podcast and started this podcast at like episode 001 or something like that, that he had promised me a bike for Christmas, my dad. And I opened the bike, had it for Christmas. And it bring up a little bit of emotion, so I'm trying to collect myself. And again, I'm way past that, and look how that still like affects me. He promised me a bike for Christmas that I never got. I remember going back home to Philly. He lived in a different state. I went back home to Philly telling my friends I got a bike. And imagine me being my little 9, 10, 11-year-old self so excited, and that bike never came. And when I first time reconnected with him, we were talking and having a conversation, and I reconnected with him because I was having my son and I wanted to figure out why he wasn't in my life, just trying to unpack some of those things, the mental health portion of this podcast. And when I went to confront him about that bike, he didn't know how much it meant to me. He didn't know how much that impacted me and how it affected me. And so fast forward to my wedding, and I think I broke all that stuff down before, and I maybe I'll get into it in another episode. But fast forward to my wedding, and him not fulfilling that promise afterwards, it took me back to that little kid that never got his bike. But now I'm a man who don't need you to provide anything in that way. I just wanted to have a fruitful relationship, and I had you a part of my dream, and unfortunately, this is where you get out of the dream. And there's no malice, there's no hate, there's no um animosity towards them, but unless you're ready to shift who you are to be involved in my life, then our journey ends here. And so when I play that clip from Charlamagne and I play and I talk about pivots and transitions and all of those different things, it's to say that as you grow, you start to utilize the things that you build and become. Now I'm still thinking about that dad situation, so it's making me lose my train of thought because it's so real. But as you grow, you start to realize that, you know what, I don't need that. You know what, I don't. Me and them, we still cool, but I can go this way. You know what, I'm gonna miss you as a friend, but I gotta do this. Even my relationship, me and my wife are not the same individuals we were when we met at 19. One of the biggest shifts in my relationship was when I realized, I think we were either coming off of an argument or we just had a discussion, and she basically said, like, if someone we oh no, we was having an argument. She said we have too much history to move forward, and I'm like, the opposite. Again, we're talking about realistic versus optimistic. I'm like, no, we have so much history. That's why we have something to pull from. Again, what the pivot has talked to me, like pull from the strengths of our history. And the way she explained it to me, she said, if I was to meet another person today, they will meet this version of me. But because you met me at a different space, you are always holding on to that version of me. And it was like a ding ding moment for me. It was like woke me up. I was like, you know what? You're right. I have to look at who you are now. This is who you are now. And so we've dated maybe 3 to 4 versions of ourselves within our short amount of time of being in a relationship. Well, I guess 12 years ain't long, but being in that span, and sometimes just in order to get happiness within your relationship, not me, but other people, they have to go out and find new people because the person they either that's the outgrowing each other part. That's what that is. That's, again, transitions. That's the outgrowing each other. Like, hey, and we going in two different directions. There's no beef between anybody, but where you going and where I'm going are two different ways. Not saying where you going is bad. Not saying where I'm going is good, but we are going in two separate ways, and it may be time for us to separate. So I wanted to. I didn't even know I was going to go that route, and we are coming up on time. And I think it's a good place to end it. I think I'll end it there. I think that's a good, solid, conversation and way to pack it up. Um, Again, I thank you all for going on this journey of discovery with me as I, try to figure out what we doing with this platform and giving advice. Let me know in the comments on the podcast pages and all that stuff, like what you like about your episode, what you dislike about this episode. Um, well, maybe just like, because we're trying to get more people to subscribe. But until then, I see y'all at the next conversation. I appreciate your support. Thank you for tuning in to Equity with your host, Reginald A. Howard. I appreciate you, advocates. Talk to you soon.